حي على الفلاح.
أعوذ بالله من الشيطان الرجيم وفديناه بذبح عظيم وتركنا عليه في الآخرين سلام على إبراهيم كذلك نجزي المحسنين إنه من عبادنا المؤمنين وبشرناه بإسحاق نبيا من الصالحين وباركنا عليه وعلى إسحاق ومن ذريتهما محسن وظالم لنفسه مبين. You're not getting sound? Alhamdulillah wa salatu wa salamu ala rasulillah wa ala alihi wa sahbihi ajma'in. Amma ba'd. Assalamu alaikum wa rahmatullahi ta'ala wa barakatuh. Inshallah, today I'll try to wrap up our discussion on a passage that belongs to Surah Al-Safat that we've been talking about, the passage of the sacrifice. And I'll also share with you some future plans for this series, inshallah. Today is the last day that I'm going to be doing this series as for this Ramadan, but I'm not done with the Ibrahim series. In fact, I thought I'd be completed in 30 days or 29 days, and we can call it a series, but we're probably not even halfway there. So there's a lot of material in the Quran on Ibrahim alayhi salam, and I think it's important that we give it its due. So some of you might know I'm traveling to Europe, inshallah, in the next few days after Eid. Actually, the day of Eid, my journey begins. I'll be stopping over in California, and then from then on, I'll head off to Umrah, and I'll be making dua for all of you, of course, inshallah. And then from there, I'm heading off to a tour in Europe. But when I come back, inshallah, I'll announce it, and we'll probably hold a couple of weekends, like a day-long program on just Ibrahim alayhi salam to kind of comprehensively cover some of the material and tie it together in one go. So we'll make it Ibrahim days, inshallah. That's the plan. Because instead of extending it too far down the road and making it little by little, there are other projects that I need attention on that would take away from this, and I don't want to leave this hanging either. So inshallah, that's the plan. And so stay tuned for that. For those of you that are watching on YouTube or on Facebook, I'll make the announcement there also, so you can attend. Inshallah, I'll also broadcast that on social media so that you guys can also access it, inshallah ta'ala. May Allah make the series of benefit and really bring us closer to our father Ibrahim alayhi salam, and through him to our own messenger sallallahu alayhi wasallam, and to Allah azza wa jal. In any case, so now we're going to talk about where we left off. Inna kadhalika najzil muhsinin. Certainly that is how we compensate all of those who excel. This is the Quran's way of telling us a story and then tying it back to ourselves. So we don't have to wonder whether the story applies to us or not. Allah explicitly says it enough times that you get programmed into thinking that when you're reading a story in the Quran, fihi dhikrukum, in it is mention of you. In it is something that's talking to you. In it there's a reminder for you and for me, right? So that's a constant. So we never look at the stories in the Quran without contemplating about ourselves. However, there has to be caution and sincerity when we contemplate the stories of the Quran. So for example, if you're studying the story of Yusuf alayhi salam, right, and he is falsely accused, right? You could say, oh, I remember a time when I was falsely accused. I can relate to Yusuf alayhi salam. It's cool, you can, and there may be truth in that, but he's kind of totally innocent, and we rarely are, right? So where I have a share of the blame, and as much as I like to say, well, my blame was 5% and the other side was 95%. If you ask the other side, they'll say their share was 5% and your share is 95%, and that's them being generous, right? So it's a matter of perspective too. So when we think about the experiences or the discussions that are taking place in the Quran, it's good to say that we want to be able to relate to the stories of the prophets, but it can also turn into something dangerous and self-righteous if we're not careful. And so self-righteousness is an important disclaimer that you and I have to worry about. The other thing is, we think about like in the case of Yusuf, we think about Yusuf alayhi salam, and I'm going to find a lot of inspiration with Yusuf alayhi salam. But his brothers are a lot like my brothers, or his brothers are a lot like my uncles, or his brothers are a lot like my cousin, or his brothers, I know a lot of people that are like his brothers. So Yusuf is for me and his brothers are for everyone else, right? So this is also a problematic mentality. If I'm being completely blatantly honest with myself, just interestingly, I was recently just got involved in studying just some correlation between Quran and psychology. Particularly, I was looking into the subject matter of jealousy. And jealousy is one of those things that it's really hard to admit that if you have it or not. First of all, we have a vague description of it. And of course, because of the term hasad in the Quran, we associate it with terrible evil. And we also know that shaitan is jealous of human beings. So we associate like the highest level of evil with it. And because it's so evil, the last thing anybody would want to say is that they're jealous, right? But there are levels of jealousy that are natural, that are normal. Like you're sitting in a class, one kid keeps answering the questions, you're like, I wish I was that smart. But a little tiny bit of jealousy, right? And at some level, jealousy is actually a natural experience. You're sitting with your friends and one of your friends says, man, I was looking for a job. Can you believe it? First week I applied, I got the job. And you've been applying for 6 months and you haven't gotten even a single call, not a single email. So there's a little bit of, man, I wish I had a job like that. There is that, right? So the feeling itself isn't evil. It's natural, actually, But what do you do with that feeling can turn into evil. And can you take that negative feeling and turn it into something productive, something constructive? Yes, you can. And can you take this down a very dark path? Yes, you can. But if you deny in yourself, I don't even have it. I don't even feel it. I know other people that are jealous. I've never been jealous in my whole life. Well, then you've got, you lack self-awareness. I like self-awareness if I have that problem, right? So the same way in the story of Ibrahim alayhi salam, we're talking about Ibrahim alayhi salam, we're trying to relate to some of the things that he had to do. At the same time, we talked about his father, we talked about his society, right? And we want to be on Team Ibrahim, right? So that's relatable to us. But those mushrikun and the way they reacted and the way they were against him and the way they didn't want to hear it and the way they were irrational and the way they used their position and the way they intimidated, that's all for the kuffar. That's not for me. Actually, maybe in some situations I am behaving in some remnant similar way to that which was condemned. That doesn't make me a mushrik, but it certainly makes me more aware. Am I exhibiting some of this behavior? Am I turning into a mob? So just to make you and I contemplate that for a moment, like online, you can have fan pages, right? So somebody's got a page and they've got millions of followers on whatever social media outlet, right? And of course, most of the people that are following them like them. That's why they're following them. And somebody comes along and says, I'm bored right now, so I'm going to hurl an insult at this person on their page or on their post, right? Because people need some extra masala with their food, so they throw out an insult. And what are the following, the fan base? What do? They eat that person alive. 500 comments on them, insults at them. Who are you to say? Da da da. It just starts this ugliness. Are you turning into a mob also? Right? Are you not? So even if you think you're doing something righteous, you are actually turning into a mob. And there is a criticism of mob mentality, isn't there? So these are the kind of mindfulness, levels of awareness that we have to bring to the table when we study the stories in the Quran. And Allah at the end of this says, "Inna kadhalika najzil muhsinin." That's why I brought all this up. That is exactly how we compensate all those who excel. Meaning Allah Azza wa Jal tested Ibrahim alayhi salam with the hardest test, and then Allah told him that you have completed the dream. And this is not just the next words aren't just for him, it's for all of us, that Allah may test us in different ways. And it is because of that sacrifice that now we have a legacy that Allah will test you and I, and then Allah will compensate in ways that we can't expect or imagine. His ihsan, think about this, his ihsan began when he was a young man. He was a muhsin when he was a young man. And he's being in the world compensated in his 80s. Right? It's how Allah does things. It's Allah's timetable. It's not our timetable. But he will compensate in some way or the other. In this world and in the next, in this world or in the next. That's up to him. He doesn't give us any guarantees of when and how and what that's going to look like. The same way Allah's punishments, we cannot decide what they're going to look like. We cannot decide when they're going to come. Oh, these people who did so much wrong, how come they're not paying for what they did? Oh, well, is that up to you? Should you be dictating to Allah how He should decree His punishments and when and how? Or is that up to Him? He actually took a lot off my plate and your plate, that He doesn't let us be concerned with who's getting punished and how. Right? That's above your pay grade. Leave that alone. That's not for you. Don't worry about it. No, but I saw them. They posted something. They still look happy.
Assalamu alaikum wa rahmatullah. If you enjoyed this video, please do share it with friends and family. If you want to see more videos from this series, click on the box at the top. If you want to see other videos, click on the box at the bottom. And don't forget to hit the subscribe button. Thanks.